Update sa rotational deployment ng PCG at BFAR sa Bajo de Masinloc. Ating tatalakayin kasama si Commodore J. Tarriela, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea. Commodore J, magandang tanghali po.
Good afternoon, Ms. Nina and Asik Rico and sa mga taga-subaybay niyo po.
Sir, kahapon we had BFAR and we're glad to have you here naman so that we can hear from the Coast Guard. Ano po yung update mula po sa inyo sa isinasagawang rotational deployment ng PCG at BFAR dyan po sa Bajo de Masinloc, particular po sa tangkang pagharang ng China sa mga barko ng Pilipinas kamakailan?
Well, on the part of the Philippine Coast Guard, the reason why kung bakit natin tinawag tong rotational deployment, no? It's because right after the Philippine Coast Guard vessels are pulled out from Bajo de Masinloc, then BFAR will take over. Sa mga nakaraang araw, no, from February 21 to 23, it was the BFAR that deployed their vessel. So ngayong linggo, we are currently preparing to send our vessel, no, to continue the presence of the Philippine government in Bajo de Masinloc, and also to ensure the protection of our Filipino fishermen from harassment, and also to support their sustainability sa pagtagal nila rito sa Bajo de Masinloc, for them to have a much more longer stay, no, as they conduct fishing activities in this area.
Follow-up lang po, paano po ang naging pagtugon ng PCG at BFAR sa ginawang ito ng China? Pakilinaw lang po.
I'm sorry, Ms. Nina, no? I wasn't able to hear your question.
Yung pong pagtugon po ng PCG at BFAR, pakilinaw lang po kung ano ang ginawa ninyo dito pagkatapos ng ginawa ng China.
There are so many things na ginagawa ng China, no? So let me first alin dito?
Yung nangyari nung February 22?
For the February 22, ito yung first
yung
day, no, na dumating yung BFAR vessel, no? And that we were able to monitor ang paglalagay ng Chinese Coast Guard ng barrier sa bukana ng Bajo de Masinloc. But for the BFAR vessel, no, instead of wasting their time and effort in trying to operationalize yung kung tatanggalin nila yung barrier na yan, what they concentrated into is yung pagdidistribute ng fuel subsidy and other grocery items to support our Filipino fishermen.
Commodore J, Asik Miko here. No? Ito po ang unang pagkakataon na na-monitor ang Chinese fishing vessel at blocking at shadowing sa ating mga barko. Tama po ba? Ano po sa tingin nyo ang dahilan bakit ginagamit na rin ang mga fishing vessels ng China?
Well, as what I said nung mga nakaraang interview, no, before, ang ginagamit lang ng Chinese Coast Guard as kumbaga katulong niya sa the drive away ng ating government vessels are those Chinese Maritime militia. Now, how do we categorize itong Chinese Maritime militia from a typical Chinese fishing vessels? Ang Chinese Maritime militia, sa experience natin, no, sa pagharap sa kanila sa karagatan, whether in Bajo de Masinloc or in Ayungin Shoal, ang Chinese Maritime militia have their distinct characteristics. Mas malinis sila, walang tao kang makikita, at walang talagang obviously hindi siya ginagamit sa pangingisda, no? But in this particular mission ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, we noted the fact na ito ay talagang pretty much similar with an ordinary Chinese fishing vessel. And then dinocument pa nga namin, no, hindi lang tao ang nasa labas ng barko, meron pa nga siyang aso na kasama. So this is the first time that we were able to document, no, na merong isang fishing vessel na tumutulong sa pagharang sa government vessel natin as we attempt to go near sa Bajo de Masinloc.
Alright, but sa tingin niyo po from using mga maritime militias naging Chinese fishing vessel na kumbaga hindi masyadong halata yung dating nito ay hindi kasing katulad ng pag nakita mo doon yung mga Chinese Coast Guard or yung militia?
Well, we can just also assume, no, na this particular vessel that appears to be an ordinary Chinese fishing vessel is also part of the Chinese Maritime Militia. Siguro nagkataon lang talagang this is the only available maritime force that they have in this particular mission, kung kaya't it even supported the Chinese Maritime Militia in preventing the BFAR vessel from getting close to Bao de Masinloc.
Alright. So nagsasagawa rin umano ng signal jamming, sir, ang China Coast Guard sa mga barko ng Pilipinas dyan po sa West Philippine Sea. Ano po ang detalye nito, sir?
Yes, Ms. Nia, no, this is already the third time that we were able to notice that every time our Coast Guard vessel and BFAR vessel come close to Bajo de Masinloc, an approximate distance between 15 to 20 nautical miles. Napapansin namin, although we are in close contact naman dito sa mga vessels natin that we deploy in Bajo de Masinloc, na nawawala yung AIS signal nila. No? We cannot be able to monitor their AIS movement. And whenever we call them to radio and other communication capability that they have to confirm kung naka-on ang AIS nila, they would say na naka-on naman, and unfortunately we were not able to monitor them. Now there are two reasons, no, we are trying to understand why the Chinese government is doing this. One is, of course, for us to not to effectively monitor the presence of our Coast Guard vessels and BFAR vessels once they are out at sea, particularly dito sa Bajo de Masinloc. And second is, napapansin din namin, every time the AIS signal of our government vessels ay nawawala, ito rin yung tumatama sa almost same hour, no, na i-declare ng China na they were successful in driving us away. So what they're doing is they are jamming our AIS signal para hindi rin mahahanap ng any other commercially capable, no, ng mag-monitor ng AIS. Para it coincides with their narrative na napaalis nila ang Philippine Coast Guard or the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources.
Commodore, ayon sa report, may nagpapatrol daw pong Chinese warship sa ating exclusive economic zone malapit sa Bajo de Masinloc. Can we confirm this, Commodore? Ano po ang gagawin ng pamahalaan sa usaping ito?
Well, I would like to confirm, no, with their last mission of Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, they were able to monitor the presence of 3 PLA Navy warship vessels in the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc. However, it has maintained a distance of more than 20 nautical miles away from Bajo de Masinloc. It is also important for us to note that within Bajo de Masinloc, the 12 nautical miles, we have territorial sea over this water. So, ang Chinese warship naman, they always maintain they are outside the 12 nautical miles. And with what I said, no, more than pa nga, it even has a distance of 20 nautical miles. However, I also mentioned to the media that despite of the PLA Navy vessels not getting near the territorial sea of Bajo de Masinloc, the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources also monitored that there is this Chinese Navy helicopter, no, that flew over dito sa karagatan ng Bajo de Masinloc as they try to monitor ang ginagawa ng BFAR at ng ating mga Pilipinong mangingisda rito. So we tried to locate kung saan siya nag-take off. No, at first we were thinking it came from the Chinese Coast Guard vessel. But eventually, up close na sa media, sa photos ng media na ibigay sa atin, no, meron siyang it's a gray-colored helicopter. And there is markings, no, na Chinese, na ang ibig sabihin nun is pretty much like Chinese Navy. And that's the reason why we said that this is also the first time na meron tayong nakita na Chinese aircraft patrolling over the airspace ng Bajo de Masinloc in the recent time.
Okay. Sinabi po ng China na ang kanilang mga aksyon daw dyan sa Bajo de Masinloc ay pagtugon lang daw sa mga hakbang ng Pilipinas na di umano'y lumalabag raw sa Chinese sovereignty. Ano po ang masasabi ninyo dito, sir?
Well, una sa lahat, no, our position in the national government, as what the Department of Foreign Affairs has always been mentioning, we have sovereignty over the waters of Bajo de Masinloc, extended from 12 nautical miles of it. And then it's also with outside those 12 nautical miles ng territorial sea ng Bajo de Masinloc. Those waters falls also within the exclusive economic zone of our country. This has been the traditional fishing ground ng ating mga Pilipino for so many years. No? Henerasyonan ng mga mangingisda ng Zambales, Pangasinan ang pumupunta rito. And it's only very recent that the Chinese government decided to rule over this water. Chinese maritime militia, which also prevent the Philippine government from patrolling our own waters. However, current administration, President Bongbong Marcos' instruction is very clear for the Philippine Coast Guard and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources to make sure that we're going to maintain our presence here in Bajo de Masinloc, and also to ensure that we're going to protect the rights of the Filipino fishermen here, and that to ensure that they're not going to be harassed, and we're going to support their fishing activities.
Commodore, sinabi niyo po na may bagong approach ang China para ma-counter ang transparency strategy ng Pilipinas sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea. On our part, ano ang gagawin ng Pilipinas ukol dito?
Well, I think the only strategy that the Chinese government is doing already, since we have become very successful in our transparency initiative, is they always, rely on disinformation, fake news. So ito lang naman ang ginagawa nila ng mga nakaraang buwan, no? Kaya nga sabi ko din ng mga nakaraang interviews, no? This is probably the reason why there's so many trolls, no? Na dumadami sa social media, trying to spread fake news and disinformation with the very objective of dividing the Filipino people with the wrong information. Kaya ang ginagawa naman natin dito sa National Task Force is we provide the Filipinos the right information. We have to make sure na ang lahat ng sinasabi natin dito sa Coast Guard, the BFAR, and even the Armed Forces of the Philippines is in alignment, no, with the objective of the National Task Force West Philippine Sea sa pag-uutos ng ating Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. And of course, the information that we provide are always factual. We don't make up stories. This is the strongest weapon that we have in countering disinformation. We just have to provide the public with the right information and the truthful ones.
Okay, sir, may follow-up question lang po dito at paglilinaw lang daw po para sa usapin tungkol dyan sa na-mention yung nga pong signal jamming. May malaking impact po ba ito sa mga mission, itong AIS jamming?
Well, it's not that significant, no? As I said, we have different ways for us to monitor our Coast Guard vessel and BFAR vessel. And one of which is, of course, is yung direct communication natin sa kanila. Even if they cannot transmit their own AIS signal, we can still check on them through radio and other means of communication to ensure that they are safe and well monitored.
Samantala, Commodore, may tanong po tayo dito mula sa ating kasamahan sa media na si Zon Ballesteros ng IBC 13. Ano raw po ang inyong posisyon o reaksyon ng PCG sa isinumating resolution ni Senator Tolentino na maimbestigahan itong reported cyanide fishing dyan po sa Bajo de Masinloc?
Well, the National Security Council, sa pagsasalita ni Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya, na ipaabot nila sa Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources and sa Philippine Coast Guard na magtulungan and to cooperate for us to be able to prove, no, whether this kind of cyanide fishing that destroys the marine environment in Bajo de Masinloc is really happening. So on our part, we already reached out to the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute, no, and UP Visayas as well, for us to bring with us marine scientists and to conduct scientific study dito sa karagatan ng Bajo de Masinloc, and to evaluate whether cyanide fishing or any other activities of the Chinese fishermen really was the cause why we now have a very destroyed corals and in bad shape marine ecosystem in Bajo de Masinloc.
Alright, so habang ginagawa niyo po yung investigasyon, matanong ko lang si ASEC Miko dahil nandito na siya ng DOJ dahil naglabas nga po ng statement si Secretary Remulla na gusto niyo ngang na ready raw kayong magsampa ng kaso tungkol dito.
Well, nasa case build-up stage po ngayon ang kaso. Actually, 2 incidents po ang tinitignan po natin. Yung dating destruction of the coral reefs in some of our islands nearby, and the cyanide fishing that has affected our Scarborough Shoal. So, idadagdag ho natin yung mga ebidensya na nakikita natin. And I would like to verify also with Commodore J. Tarriela that this actually isn't the first time that we've heard of reports of the use of cyanide. So matagal na po itong nangyayari po, no, Commodore, and this is just one of those instances where it's very stark, it's very glaring. So idadagdag ho natin yung mga ebidensya na hakuha natin dito at ilalagay natin yan sa ating case build-up stage.
Okay, so antayin po natin siguro, yung kasama siguro dyan yung mga gagawin na scientific study, no, ng ating mga marine experts and biologists, ASEC Miko.
Yes, ma'am. Importante po kasi na maintindihan natin yung scope ng damage na nangyari doon dahil po sa cyanide fishing at iba't iba pang mga methods nila. Kung paano nila siguro talagang nade-destroy yung ating environment, ang ating exclusive economic zone.
But what if they say na hindi kami yung gumawa niyan, di ba?
Well, evidence will tell. Dapat talagang matukoy natin gamit ang ebidensya na sila talaga mismo. And I think that's the use of the case build-up rule.
And where can you file that case? Where will you file that case?
Not to preempt anything, pero ang sa amin lang kasi, we're looking for the best forum kung saan natin pwedeng i-file ito. And of course, one of those is the obvious choice of the Philippine Court of, the Permanent Court of Arbitration, kung saan nanalo na tayo laban sa China regarding the 9-dash line, yung territorial dispute natin with China.
At kahit na sabihin hindi ito kinikilala ng China, ASEC Miko.
Kinikilala naman po ng buong mundo.
Yun. Alright, so ikaw na ang magtatanong na susunod kay Commodore.
Yes. Commodore, sunod na tanong po ni Zon Ballesteros, ano po ang reaksyon ng PCG sa pagkakapasa sa third and final reading sa Senado ng panukalang Philippine Maritime Zones? At paano daw po ito makakatulong sa mandato ng PCG, particular sa maritime patrols sa West Philippine Sea?
Well, on the part of the Philippine Coast Guard, since we also supported the submission of the Maritime Zones Bill, led of course by the National Task Force West Philippine Sea. We have noted the fact na itong mga maritime zones na to, it's very important for us. At least we can already declare, what's the territorial sea, what's a contiguous zone, and what's our own exclusive economic zone. Ito ang pagkakataon na masasabi talaga natin, for example, sa territorial sea. What are those legislated laws na ma-apply natin dito? And going beyond that, ano naman ang mga international laws na magko-cover din for any other maritime law offenders magpapatulya dito dadaan dito sa karagatan ng Pilipinas.
Okay, Commodore, may pahabol na tanong po dito si Zon Ballesteros uli. May plano po bang tanggalin ng PCG yung mga barrier na inilagay ng CCG sa bukana raw dyan ng Bajo de Masinloc?
Well, before responding to that question, Ms. Nina, I would like to highlight the fact that based on our observation for the past so many times na ginawa na nila to, naglalagay sila dito ng barrier on the day that they were able to monitor the presence of a Philippine government vessel, whether it's a Coast Guard or whether it's Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. At a certain distance, pag alam nilang papunta tayo sa Bajo de Masinloc, naglalagay na agad sila sa bukana sa lagoon ng Bajo de Masinloc. However, we also noted the fact na a few hours after umalis ng mga barko natin, tinatanggal din nila agad itong mga floating barrier na to. So I don't think there's still a necessity for us na tanggalin ito. Kasi voluntarily tinatanggal din naman nila kapag umalis tayo.
So hindi po katulad dati na tayo talaga ay tinanggal natin, isa-isa yung mga yon, yung mga buoys or mga barriers po na nakapaligid doon. So ngayon, nilalagay nila, sila rin yung nagtatanggal. Mabuti na rin,
Yes.
sila na lang yung maghirap. Anyway, sir, ang dami pong mga bago, may mga firsts na nangyari dito sa pinaka-recent incident. May fishing vessel na ginamit, may aircraft, nakakita tayo for the first time, may helicopter at iba pa. So, mensahe nyo lang po sa ating mga kababayan ngayon na nakatutok at inaabangan ang mga pangyayari dyan sa West Philippine Sea.
Thank you, Ms. Nina. No? Ang Philippine Coast Guard po sa mamumuno ng ating komandante na si Admiral Ronnie Hilgaban, makakaasa po kayo ang ating po mga kababayang mangingisda. Hindi lamang po sa Zambales, kundi po ang mga kasama natin sa Palawan. Ang Philippine Coast Guard po, regardless with the very limited number of vessels that we have, no? We strategically and optimize the presence ng ating mga barko na nagpapatrolya dito sa West Philippine Sea. Regardless po, no matter how many times that we're going to be bullied or no matter how big the Chinese Coast Guard vessels are, at kahit gaano pa po sila karami, ang Philippine Coast Guard niya po ay hindi hihinto sa pagpapatrolya sa West Philippine Sea para po protektahan ang ating pong exclusive economic zone at ang ating pong mga mangingisda. Sa Philippine Coast Guard po, kami po ay naniniwala na sa West Philippine Sea, ang yaman nito ay para sa Pilipino.
Alright, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Commodore J. Tarriela, PCG Spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea.